Money in an index fund, you'll often get about 10% a year. So Warren Buffett nearly doubles that. Not bad. But there is one group that beats the market by even wider margins, taking in massive profits. They aren't math geniuses, they aren't experts in statistics, and they aren't using an algorithm developed by some tech startup. And they don't work at a stock exchange on the trading floor. They work here, on the floor of Congress. They're your elected representatives.
Oh,
They are
Donald
beating
is
the
about
market
to be,
by margins that make
Donald
even
is about
Warren
to be our
Buffett look
governor.
like an absolute chump.
All right.
We get questions from you, our audience, quite a lot about how members of Congress get so rich. After all, they have a fixed salary. They can't have a bunch of income on the side or just have another job. Turns out, the answer is a little boring. It's mostly be rich already before you're elected to Congress, have a rich spouse, and maybe write a weird book. But there's another big part of the answer, and it's all of this. Play the stock market and do it better than almost anyone
we're going to
else.
see the top.
So how are members of Congress doing this? Did we accidentally elect generationally talented stock traders? Or is something else happening here beneath the surface? This is a look at how members of Congress get rich through some of their most suspicious...
Oh, see that? Yeah, there's one of your worst
I try not to look at that. I try not to look at that.
recent stock trades, and what, if anything, can be done about it.
And the reason for all of this is that, quite frankly, members of this body are privy to information that the normal person just is not.
So again, we have plenty of protections. We have the disclosure. This is a completely unnecessary piece of legislation.
That is Senator Ron.
Can you respond to this person? Because shut up and go away. Like, seriously.
If you are a cuckold for David Pakman,
then that's where you should be watching.
Go to his channel. If you are so concerned, and remember, David Pakman has over 3 million subscribers. We have over 50,000, and you think you're coming here to troll us? Like, you're supposed to punch up. You're supposed to punch up at people who actually have a large following. We, on the other hand, are growing. And if we are in the thought, remember, Charlie Kirk put a clip of me in one of his videos. Charlie fucking Kirk put me in one of his videos. And I'm thinking,
this guy thinks that we're jealous of David. I assure you, none of us are jealous of David Pakman. We just want him to go away because he's garbage.
Seriously.
We signed up for this job. We knew what the pay was. It isn't a, we're going to pay you this much plus corruption.
I don't know how many people in the audience, how many of you don't want to make money? Anybody want to be poor? I don't.
Want this. That is not somebody that should be like, that's
he's
Voldemort.
being honest. He's being honest about the fact that he doesn't want to be poor. So he decided that in order to get rich, he was willing to kill a lot of people, which he did. He is the Medicare fraudster to end all Medicare fraudsters.
Yeah.
And he is, at a time or another, the richest person in Congress.
He's disgusting to me. He's disgusting.
Beyond
yes,
disgusting.
Rick Scott should be in prison. Exactly.
I think he should be a lot worse than that, but that's my opinion. Here's a guy who says, do you want to be poor? I don't. Correct. You don't want to be poor. So you are willing.
Be poor? Who wants to be poor? Like, that's a stupid thing to say.
A lot of stupid things come out of his mouth.
I'm going to take you back to February 2020. At this point, nobody in the public really knows just how bad this whole coronavirus thing would be.
February 2020.
But if you were a U.S. senator who sits on the Intelligence and Health Committees, like Richard Burr, who gets confidential briefings on threats to the U.S., you might have a pretty good idea of what's coming. Publicly, at the time, Burr seemed confident that this COVID situation wasn't that bad, that the U.S. was ready. On February 7th, he wrote an op-ed for Fox News saying just as much. But on February 13th, just a day later, Burr was dumping his entire portfolio, selling off a ton of stock, potentially up to $1.7 million worth. But here's the thing. He did all of this while the market was at an all-time high. Why would he do that? Maybe because he was receiving closed-door briefings telling him that this virus was going to be bad for the U.S. economy in a big way. Soon after, the market did crash, the economy did shut down, and Senator Burr miraculously dodged the financial ruin that many of his constituents felt at that time. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, that sounds like it should be illegal, I had the same reaction, and you would be right, sort of. You see, in the United States, we have laws against what we call insider trading.
The buying and selling of stock by corporate insiders who have access to non-public information that could affect the stock price can be a criminal offense.
Now, I don't work for the FBI, but to my untrained eye, this looks a lot like a politician using his insider knowledge to dump his entire stock portfolio before a market crash, all while assuring the public that everything was okay.
Gotta love a guy who throws that sport jacket over the shoulder. Am I right? He's happy.
No, there's nothing cool about that.
I would say that there's nothing cool about anybody who breaks the law, but especially when it's our federally elected officials.
Assuring the public that everything was okay. Apparently, the FBI disagreed because after conducting an investigation, all charges were dropped against Senator Burr and they found no wrongdoing.
Remember, the reason that nothing ever happens is because he's not the only one. This is a feature. It's not an anomaly. If one goes down, they're all going to take each other down, which is why the ones.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's why
we won't vote on this.
Correct. Which is why ones, like Thomas Massey truly do stand out from the pack. That's the difference. People like him are the difference.
Dropped against Senator Burr and they found no wrongdoing. He got off completely scot-free, which is shocking to me. We have a specific law against insider trading just for members of Congress. It's called the Stock Act. Stop trading on congressional knowledge. Cute, I know. But to me, this law looks like it doesn't work at all. Because here's the thing, Senator Burr, he's not the exception. To better understand how widespread this issue is, and if one party is doing it more than the other,
I sat down with Chris Kardatsky of Quiver Quantitative, a company that uses alternative public data sources to help retail investors make better decisions. Because apparently, one of the best ways to do that is by tracking members of Congress.
Last year, we launched a portfolio on an app called Autopilot. Every month, it buys stock in the companies that are being bought the most by members of Congress. And since we've launched that last year, it's risen around 33%, I believe, whereas
they think that there's like acceptable levels of insider trading, right? Like it isn't black or white. There's a very gray area where it's acceptable or for a certain amount, or it's really amazing. Like they sit there and like they're arguing about how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. It's really bizarre.
We've reached a point where the corruption is just in your face, and what level of it are you willing to accept? That's basically what they're saying. Their performance is a 37% net gain. I mean, if you get an over 12% net gain, that's considered a substantial win. But in this case, they're just admitting that, yeah, we rigged the game. And rather than fix it, we're now just going to allow other people to go out there and trade on it. But the problem that you have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, is that 93% of the stocks are owned by 10% of the investors. This is not some club that you can just get into and everybody can just buy and get wealthy. It's for a very select group of people. That's the reality.
The market is up around 24% over the same time frame.
Is either political party worse on this? Does one party trade more than the other one?
We haven't seen any sort of lean one way or the other. We see suspicious trades on both sides of the aisle.
Are there any other examples of trades that you've been watching recently that you could walk us through?
Back in November, we noticed Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz buying stock in a company called Viasat. And it really caught our eye because it was the first time we'd seen her buy the stock, and it was the first time we'd seen any member buy the stock.
Okay, so Debbie Wasserman Schultz sits on the Appropriations Committee and the Subcommittee on Military Construction.
They used to do these, remember they used to do the cartoons of the big fat pigs, and they had like the top hats on and the jackets, and they were scratching each other and handing each other money,
No, I don't, but I'll believe you.
Well, remember how there used to be that cartoon about how a bill gets made?
Yes, that's Schoolhouse Rock.
Well, so Schoolhouse Rock essentially made a parody of that, only in this case, it showed the corruption side of things. And so basically what you're seeing here is This is how the corruption works, which is even more amazing because they say that Debbie Wasserman Schultz's net worth is $528,000. Ladies and gentlemen, Debbie Wasserman Schultz lives in a multi-million-dollar house in Weston, Florida. Like that alone shows how
her house is probably like 1.5 million, 1.7 million. It's probably something like that.
But she has at least 3 houses.
Yeah.
She has a house in DC, she has a house in Weston, and then she has some getaway vacation home in New Hampshire. That's probably in excess of probably close to 4 to 5 million right there. So the dishonesty about her income is also something that I've always found quite perplexing.
Yeah. And the other thing is she does trades through her husband and her children.
Of course, but
so
you know
a lot of her worth is not trackable.
Of course, you know what? And you'll find out that Steve Schultz, who's her husband, is probably worth millions upon millions of dollars. But you know who else trades through their spouses? Ro Khanna trades through his wife. Marjorie Taylor Greene trades through her CPA or whatever. It's bad.
So that's the problem with, even if you pass some law, even if they voted on it and they said Congress members and their families can't trade stock while they're sitting in Congress. Let's say they did that. They'll just find go around. They'll just find an attorney or a friend or someone to do it for them. You know, so it's a pickle, because even if they decided that they wanted to stop it, I don't see how you could really enforce it.
I just think we're getting to a point where people are just collectively losing faith in the system. And that is a very dangerous
thing. They should.
Well, yes, but here's the problem is that once you lose faith in it, you will not get it back. No one will trust this system again. These guys.
Well, wait, we don't need to. This system needs to end. So why would we trust it?
That's true. But Wasserman Schultz, like Trump, makes it very easy to say, whatever this system is that these types of people are benefiting from, I don't want any part of it. Just like David Pakman says, well, I'm not a part of this team anymore. You were never welcomed on the team in the first place.
David Pakman, you were never on the team.
No,
never.
You're just Pakman. Whether a Pakman, guys, can we just keep that going? Whether you want to believe it or not, you're just as much of a scumbag as Debbie Wasserman Schultz is. I know you don't think that you are in your own deluded mind, but trust me when I tell you, you're just as bad.
That's not a good look right off the bat.
And then in December, it was announced that Viasat would be awarded part of like a $4 billion NASA contract.
If you want to know what the definition of insider trading is, and I mean you are guilty of sin, you go to federal prison, this is a classic case of this. This is undeniable knowledge that Wasserman Schultz, who was one of the first people, forget Congress, was one of the first people to buy stock in this project that now has a right out of the gate, after its first public offering, is sitting at a valuation of $4.8 billion. I guarantee you she made more money than they're listing her net worth at.
The problem is, and I know this because I live in South Florida, unfortunately, our voters, they don't care. They don't care. You could show them the proof about all of this stuff and they'll still vote for her. And at this point, I am getting out of South Florida. And as far as I'm concerned, that district deserves her. They do. They deserve her. And the people who don't, they don't vote. So they deserve her.
I do have somebody in mind who I think would actually be a very formidable opponent to her, but he's not ready yet. So
it doesn't matter. Until that district switches red, she's not going anywhere.
Well, maybe that's what will happen, but time will tell.
It's not ready yet.
Yeah. Contract, and the stock just rose.
Looks like they got another big contract.
I just want to show that graphic.
It was the first time we'd seen her buy the stock. It was the
Just
first
watch
time we'd
this
seen any member buy the stock. And then in December, it was announced that Viasat would be awarded part of like a $4 billion NASA contract, and the stock just rose.
This is where she bought the stock.
How can people not want, she needs to learn Mangione monetary theory.
Well, that's probably the only way she's going anyway. But imagine this. Imagine buying the stock at about $11 a share. And right now it sits at about 28. So she
And yet
nearly,
she's only worth $500,000.
yeah, she
Right.
triple X'd her money. Like you said, and as Calling Larry says,
Yes.
that's what's coming.
They give you no other choice.
Ari Schaefer said it. How else do you want this to go? No one is listening.
No.
JFK said, if you make peaceful revolution impossible, violent revolution becomes inevitable. And this is the type of stuff that is going to get people to do something very drastic that they normally wouldn't do, but feel like they have no other choice.
It looks like they got another big contract also with the Department of Defense right after the NASA contract.
A couple years ago, we saw Representative Susie Lee buy stock in a company called Rheinmetall.
Rheinmetall?
Which is a German defense contractor, which, I mean, that rang alarm bells for us because it's like, it was a stock we hadn't really seen any members trade before, and obviously very tied into U.S. defense policy.
It's like they're doing a lot of work with the Army lately. Tank modernization, I bet there's big money in that.
Susie Lee sat on a committee on military construction, and since then the stock's risen like, I think 250%.
I do not understand how this is just acceptable. Other than we're lawless. We are completely lawless.
We are.
I'm telling you, it's like, that's why they're doubling down on policing, because they know that we are a rogue nation. So if we're not going to follow international law, and we have leadership that has no respect for law and no respect for any sort of norms of what is acceptable, then the next thing is for people to get out of control, which is why we have like over 100 cop cities being created. Like, they see that this is coming.